The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Rogers or Rogers TV.
Welcome to Left and Right. When unemployment rises and times get tough, people blame the government and then immigration. They're stealing our jobs away from us. Now, illegal immigration, or those who abuse refugee status, does have effects on our economy. But are we as Canadians having enough babies to sustain our economy? And what about those success stories where immigrants came to this country with $20 and succeeded? In this edition, we discuss immigration. I'm Michael Charbon, and this is Left and Right. Welcome to Left and Right. My name is Michael A. Charbon, joined in studio today by Mr. Michael Prue. Mr. Prue is an MPP, an NDP MPP for Citizenship and Immigration for Beaches-East York, and also the former mayor of East York. I'm also joined by Mr. Calvin Barry. Calvin Barry, former Chief Crown Prosecutor for Ontario, and now has a very flourishing independent legal practice as a defense attorney. Our topic today is immigration, and how does that impact us as people who live in Ontario? You know, when the economy goes down and things get tough, there's so many people who automatically point a finger at immigration and say it's because of the immigrants that we don't have any jobs. But many of those jobs that those people are pointing the finger, they don't want to take them, and they don't want to take the money that's there. And we have that person who comes from another country with $20 in his or her pocket and makes a living and makes a success, while people who have been living here for many, many years still can't do it. Our discussion today, immigration. Let's start, first of all, Mr. Prue, with you. You still are the immigration critic, so you have the ability to criticize what the Ontario government is doing and where we're not fulfilling what some may believe are our obligations for immigrants. How would you categorize how our government is performing currently, and what is the state of the nation from the NDP's point of view?
Well, okay, from the NDP, from my point of view, and I have to
start with you. Then
I have to preface my remarks that before I became a politician, I worked for 20 years in the immigration department. I lived and breathed it, and I understand how it works. The immigration is only one of two areas in which the provincial government has equal jurisdiction with the federal government. The other one is agriculture. And so each province has a say in which immigrants and the number of immigrants that are allowed to come into the province. The provinces have a key role in determining people's training and education and assessing it against what the training and education is in Ontario. So if you're an engineer from abroad and you want to be an engineer here, we look at that and determine whether or not it meets the criteria of Ontario. Same for doctors, same for anything. We have failed miserably as a province in our immigration portfolio. Over the years, all the other provinces have done a much better job, particularly Quebec. Quebec chooses its own immigrants. Quebec determines in advance their educational qualifications and matches that with the Quebec criteria. We don't do any of that. It didn't matter for a while because 70% of all immigrants came to Ontario, but that's now down below 50%. And as a result, we are not getting the type of immigrants that we need. We are not getting the level of immigration that we need. They're going to other places where their qualifications are accepted and, more importantly, where there are jobs. Since we're last in almost everything in Ontario these days, and we have the highest.
That's an unfair.
And we and we have the highest unemployment rate, and we're dead last in terms of education and a number of other criteria. Immigrants are starting to go to the HAB provinces, and you're seeing them go to Alberta, Saskatchewan, and British Columbia, and they're taking increasingly our number of immigrants. We have to do what the other provinces are doing. We have to seize our jurisdiction, help choose our own immigrants, and bring those people who will bring vitality back to Ontario.
Michael Prue. Calvin, where do we stand from a legal standpoint? The federal government just cleared a whole bunch of the refugee rolls and started again the government decided that they were going to start from fresh and introduce a whole new federal position. What does the judiciary look upon immigrants and their status? How are they perceived in front of the court, and what kind of rights do they have that they may not have in other countries as an immigrant or as someone who's trying to attain refugee status?
Well, Michael, part of the problem right now is that there's a lot of people that are here and they're driving taxi cabs and they're working as waiters and waitresses when they're doctors and they're engineers and they're physicians, from their own home country, and it's something sad and something's wrong when these people have all this qualification, all this gift to give to the economy and to the people of Ontario are not at the level where they should be. There's backlogs, terrible backlogs, and in terms of people that should be deported in some of the courts with immigration judges, they're not being deported. It's almost like a death row. They can kind of drag it out, and the people that shouldn't be here, a lot of them should be gone, in my view, and the ones that should be here and are lawful and working hard, and they're getting caught up in a backlog. So I think with the Harper government, some of what they're trying to do is to be applauded, that they're trying to make the right moves. They're trying to get the queue to be sped up, and they don't want two tiers where some immigrants are kind of in this kind of gray area of limbo and the other ones have more neared privileges, because that causes a dissension. It doesn't facilitate the potential of that second tier. So I think that they're trying to do the right things. I mean, I'm not a progressive conservative by any means, but I see that they're trying to make the right moves. But I guess time will tell. I think that it's just sad that we have these students here and they're having problems renewing their student visas and that, and there's a lot of gifts from other countries that can enrich Ontario and increases prosperity.
When we return, I want to spend a little more time on qualifications because particularly in the Peel region, there are many who have complained about not being able to be accepted in the profession that they were trained in their home country. But many of the associations would say that they don't necessarily qualify, that their level of education predicated on where they came from and the level of expertise, some in the medical profession would say that they haven't been able to utilize certain equipment and know certain procedures just because of the lack of money that was available at the time, gives them a lesser ability to function in this society. And one would say, well, how can we bring them up to par? Because, as Calvin pointed out, it's a horrible thing to say that you've got a gentleman who is a surgeon who is a taxi cab driver. So when we return, Mr. Prue, we'll pose that question to you and find out why are those things happening and why have we not been able to establish something that gives them more of an education or gives them the ability to get a leg up? You're watching Left and Right. My name is Michael A. Charbon, and we will be back with more on the topic of immigration right after this.